We're not confused.
Want to get for missing a meeting. You ready? Yes. Ready. This is to go. And we're ready. Okay, it is 4:30. This library board meeting is open. And I will turn it over to you, Megan. Guess, we need to do the library board meeting. Minutes for last month. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting? Well, I will entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Move to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Lady? Oh, do you have a question?
No,
He's
it's
there to say no. Okay.
Aye.
All righty. So we have the report of the librarian. So Megan, you're on.
Making sure I'm actually on. Okay, so we're going to be the second library in the state that will be hosting the Museum of Natural and Cultural History's Traveling Dino Story from August 8th to September 6th. This is going to be an interactive dinosaur-related educational experience. We will need to recruit a few families that be part of a focus group about how the exhibit is set up and what's included in it and the activities related to it. So if you know of any families that would like to be part of that, just let me know. All ages are welcome. And I believe the museum will send somebody up, will send their outreach person up here to have the meeting and then also feed the focus group and ask them about the dinosaurs. They were super excited that we wanted to be part of this because we're so close to Eugene, obviously. But this is going to be a 2-year traveling exhibit around the state to various libraries and museums. And they're just kind of want to make sure everything's going good and everything is set up like they expected it to be. Sutherland is hosting it right now as the first library, and then will be next month is the second. And then the data learned from both of those libraries will kind of inform how it goes from there. One good thing is the libraries after us, they're going to be charged $350 to host this. So that'll pay for like shipping and upkeep of the exhibit and all of that. But because the director's going to deliver it to us and we're going to be part of this focus group, we aren't being charged for it. So that's a good thing.
That's a good.
And then there'll be more information coming towards the end of the month for publicity and all of that. I finished up 2 6-month-long courses offered by the Urban Libraries Council, which is a national library group, and it was funded by the State Library of Oregon. The titles are super fun: of Oregon Digital Inclusion Action, and the other one was the Oregon Data Fluency. I have a little bit of a presentation at the end in new business later, not part of the report, about the presentation that I put together for one of the classes. They kind of intermingled with each other. So most people were taking, about half the people were taking both classes. Half of them had taken one of the classes previously. I think prior to the pandemic, they were taking these. One focused on digital needs across the state, from very large libraries and larger cities to tiny libraries and tiny communities, and just how people connected to technology. Oregon is a top 5 for access across the country. but state, but across the country, we have a really high number of people connected to the internet. Unfortunately, Sweet Home and Lynn County do not, but we're still a lot better than a lot of across the nation. We have a higher number of residents in Sweet Home that have only access to a cell phone at home and no actual internet. There's a lot more that don't have like cable internet and just rely on satellite, which I know that feeling growing up of having only once the satellite internet came out, that was wonderful. We didn't have to dial up anymore. So I know it's a wonderful thing, but still really slow. The data fluency class focused on types of data that libraries gather and how and where best to gather this data. Sweet Home has some data gaps due to our location. We're still considered part of the Albany metro area, but we are so different than Albany, as I know all of you know, that a lot of that data probably might be geographically in the area. It doesn't quite translate to Sweet Home itself. And then I was appointed to the statewide database licensing advisory committee. We just had an orientation meeting a week or so ago, and this group will meet quarterly to discuss what the state library is. We all give them a little bit of money, and then they have grants, and then we have databases and ebook platforms that are shared across all the libraries in Oregon. And it's just, we'll talk about what databases we have, how the use is, if we need to change things, what titles we need to add or delete from our collection and all of that. So it'll be interesting. I'm representing library consortiums through our connection with the Lynn Library Consortium. No, thank you.
So can I just interrupt for a minute? Because I have a comment to make. Some of you know I have to leave early because I have a training at 5 o'clock. But it's relevant to this work that you're doing about data fluency, etc. So, and it feeds into your presentation, which I won't be here to.
You have the slides, and that's pretty much what I'm doing is reading those.
So I think it's really important in this day and age to offer to the general public, specifically children, about media literacy, and it kind of dovetails with access to the internet, etc. I don't know about the rest of the board members, but I would really like to see media literacy a thread that gets intertwined with whatever we're doing for digital inclusion actions, etc., and whatever offerings we have at the library. And in one of your slides, you said about promoting the fact that the library has access to computers. I think we also really need to promote whatever programs we have that instruct families, parents, and children about media literacy. They're not getting it in school. There are some teachers in the Sweet Home School District who bring that into the classroom, but it's not formalized. And you're from Washington State. You may know that Washington State has a very robust media literacy program throughout the state. Oregon has nothing. So as a concerned citizen and a library board member, I would like to see that as a thread, and I don't want to lose track of it as time goes by. Having said that, I won't be at the August meeting because I'll be out of town. So however it gets moved forward, I want it to be in the minutes, and then maybe at some other time, parents, students can offer up their opinions and say, and I guess that's all I'll say. Media literacy really needs to be in the forefront of what we promote to the community. And we have such a platform with the library. And I was happy to hear that many of the high school students who had received library cards were coming back. And I'm thinking, okay, what would it be like if we could offer them a media literacy online program? Because I know there are lots. I may feature that up on our TV screen as they come in. I'd like to see more of that. So thank you.
Thank you. Good points.
Any other questions about either of those, either the classes or the committee that I'm on? Okay, on to the collections. We're working now of still trying to figure out the space that we have in the building and where people are checking out the most stuff and where collections need a little more space. We've known for a while that the mystery collection needs more space to grow because everyone loves their mystery series in this town, which is perfectly fine. We still have several people that want, we've separated out the large print fiction. They have their own area that's going pretty well. The visibility is helping more people check that out. And then we want to do the same for the mystery section. We didn't have quite enough space within that horse-shaped U where the other large print books are. And we needed to condense down the adult nonfiction a little bit more. So we've made kind of that whole entire back wall have room for mystery. And then the last row of where you're used to seeing like the history books and the nonfiction, that's where the mystery audiobooks and the mystery large print have moved to. And they have some growth space there, which is good. And then there's still plenty of space for the nonfiction, and we're still growing that collection as well. There's just some spaces that we'd gone through, like the classics, and it wasn't as much on the shelf that we needed. And it can condense down. Instead of having like 3 books on a shelf, we could have, about 3/4 full. So not too much is gone. It's just kind of condensed. It did a little bit the same in the children's fiction and nonfiction, just kind of moving a few things around. We paused our materials purchasing for a few weeks at the end of the fiscal year, just to help close the books, and we resumed purchasing exactly on July 1st. I kept asking Brandon all week, can we? And Joy had a cart ready to go, and like first thing she got in the morning, she hit send. So we waited until we could do it. We followed the rules. And one thing we did learn, which I found the staff found more interesting than I did, because I already knew it was going to happen, but patrons have gotten used to us being able to get them materials that we don't have, the consortium doesn't have, that we could get for them within a week or 2 usually, and they got used to that already. So we had even pausing purchasing for just a few weeks. They're like, 2 weeks? That'll take forever. So it was really good to see that patrons really are responding to that without them even knowing that we were going that much faster. They just got used to it that much quicker. So that's all good there. I think that's all we've done with the collections lately. Any questions on that? Building issues. We continue to have a few toilet issues, and the outside watering system needed a few upgrades and then readjustments after that, so that the plants that had been planted out there, had a volunteer come and plant some more plants, so that they can actually get water in this heat. Some adjustments had to be made. That's all been completed. And then we had a couple very large flower planters that a donor donated for outside of our building. They look great. They keep growing, and we get them about 1 gallon of water a day, which is good, but it keeps making them grow bigger and bigger. That's about all for the building. The city, I don't have it on here, but the city just recently, last week, switched exterminator companies. So they came and did an assessment of the building last week. We don't have any bug issues right now, but they're ready to go and discontinue maintenance for that. So hopefully it won't happen again in the future. No major changes of anything in the building beyond the collection stuff. So anything about the building questions? Passive programming. We have some summer related coloring sheets and a summer boredom kit, which is some games, coloring, a bunch of other things going on there that we're offering. Once we run out of those boredom kits, then we have some road trip kits that we're going to put out probably about the first of the month. That's just a bunch of little games you can play in the car or when driving around. You don't have to actually leave the city to play those. In-person programming, we actually have something. So this section's the longest I've written. Summer reading is going great. Each of our Art in the Park, Storytime in the Park events in June have had probably over 60 participants. there. We've even had, the adults are even joining in on doing some of the crafts. I had one mom and daughter last week. If you're there, I was playing with lots of glitter. And the daughter was very excited by the glitter, and she just kept wanting to come back and make these glue glitter things. And the mom was like, where can I get this glitter? She just never been like this before for any craft, and like, well, they're like a pound jar, so good luck with that. And so I gave her some of the little jars to take home with her until she could get herself pounds and pounds of glitter, apparently. Um, yeah, just what every parent wants is lots of glitter in their house. We've had a handful of teens show up for our first 2 teen events, which have been playing games, doing art, eating some snacks, just kind of hanging out and meeting each other. I had almost all of them came back for the second time. And then they're getting to know each other, and some of the teens hadn't known each other before between being in the high school, junior high, homeschooled, charter school. They're just kind of getting to know each other, which will be great for when school starts up again. We'll have movie in the park tomorrow night. Joy and a couple of our volunteers will be there doing a great little craft before Sing 2. That is at 8:30. Doing a plug for Lucia's running it. So we'll have lots for them to do then. The next story time, Art in the Park, is going to be next Friday, the 22nd. Eastland Museum will be there with us, along with Friends of the Library, even though I spelled their name incorrectly, apparently. It's going to be an Oregon Trail themed event. Last I talked to the museum, they weren't quite sure what they were going to be talking about, but they were super excited to be part of this. We're thinking something about like what people ate when they were on the trail. So, or how they cooked it and all that. So we'll see what they come up with. I'm sure it'll be exciting. We've had a lot of visits from daycares and summer school kids. I think today we had 6 or 7 different classes with at least 10 kids come in. They're all getting these summer reading cards while they're in. The summer reading cards just last over the summer. And then if they are over the age of 5 and their parents want them to, then they're getting the actual cards as well. And they're all checking out at least 2 items apiece, and they're all super excited. A lot of them have brought their parents back to get more stuff because the teachers are only letting them check out 2 items, no games, and none of the other fun stuff. So they're like, if you bring your parents back, you can check out the games and you can check out more of these books. So they've been doing that, and they're just having so much fun. I had a non-parent in today when there was 4 classes in there, so like 40 children, super loud. She's like, is it always like this? This is wonderful. I'm like, no, just a couple hours a day. She's like, but this is just great. So yeah, we really like that, and just having people be comfortable coming into the library is a good thing. Again, having teens return and continuing to use their cards from when they came in May. We've also had a few of the high school, summer school classes come in and get cards if they needed them, and just kind of just hang out in general. And some of those kids have come back as well. So it's just really good seeing all these new people come into the building and use the building, check out our materials, and come back. That's the biggest thing, is we want people to come back, not just because we want the materials back, but we want them back so that they will continue to use our facilities. And then that's all I have for that. If any questions about any of the programs we're doing, and we'll take volunteers to come to any of the remaining Art in the Park story times that we have going on. So if you want to play with glitter or whatever craft is going on, you're free to come join us.
Have any questions on what we covered? Have a question, I guess, of it's my understanding that we're still having people that come in and say, I didn't even know there was a library in town. I just thought maybe we could kind of discuss possibility, different ways that we might get that word out. It's kind of odd to me that there are still people that don't know about it, but wonder where we're letting down, if there's an area that we could have them do a little bit more. Any questions about
I will say, even the library that I came from, which was a 2-story, 40,000 square feet building right next to a huge park and city hall, there's people that would, and they'd have the farmer's market there. There's people that would be in the farmer's market literally 10 feet away from the building and did not know it was a library. So some people, it's just always going to be difficult. But I think for here, it's just getting the word out for people that maybe haven't been to a library since school, and maybe they dropped out of high school and it's just not something they've ever thought about. So how do we reach them? That's the question. And I think right now it's, we have DVDs, come check us out. That seems to be a really, and games. That's one reason I added games, is kind of to have an entry point of, you don't have to be on the lookout for a book. There are other things happening here. Yeah, please do.
don't put it in paper? Still people who don't read paper. It's just kind of odd to me in this day. It's just that was surprise. I was very surprised to hear that.
I think part of it is signage. There's no signage on Main Street that really directs in a big way. But the monitor in front of this building advertises library doings, and I'm always happy to see that. So
Right.
people always come this way. But for the downtown core, there's
There's
not
nothing
much,
there.
there's nothing there, and I'm not sure how to implement that, but it seems like if there was something in people's faces as they're driving into town that says library this way, that would be putting something where there's nothing right now. So that's a start.
I know that the process is difficult.
Yeah,
Beyond that, I don't know specifics.
and that's probably why there aren't any. But still, we could find that
There's-
out and have an action plan and whatever.
There's the one green road sign, I think it's green, maybe brown, by Sunshine Coffee. But once you get a block away from Main Street, it still doesn't tell you beyond that of where the library is. It just points that way, and then there's a little turn you have to do, and people might not know that.
Well, there is Chamber of Commerce property. They do have a sign there, but it's not digital or whatever. Up to the owners of the property and see if they might be going to change the sign or. And that wouldn't be in ODOT's, that would be on their property. Yeah, there is a sign already.
Madam Chair. So there, we do have a sign that's like where you put the letters up with
Right.
the old school one that says Sweet Home Community Events. And we haven't had the public works staff change that since 2020 because there was other priorities. And then we got the electronic sign. And I'm wondering if that might be something that we could put the libraries hour, because our hours right now are pretty, we have those determined. Those are not fluctuating right now. So even if we had Sweet Home Public Library, something like that, that might give us something in that downtown area. So
That's a good.
Just-
We've got a couple of areas that we
Mhm.
actually could maybe look into getting something done. Has the Public Works Department always taken care of that sign? I never was quite clear on that. Okay. Because I think in the past it was, well, who knows? Really knowing. Yeah. Okay, maybe we could kind of look into it.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. I know Lygia's done a great job with the sign up front here. I've asked for the newspaper to visit the art in the park next week. And then the last thing I have is nothing. There's no updates on the new building yet.
So we have nothing on the new building.
We're currently, I think we're just in a holding pattern. We're going to wait for the city manager to be hired. And that was pushed back a month or so. So, because I don't really want to start a big process and then have the new person come in and say, no, we're going this direction or this direction. Yeah. It's happened once before. We don't want to do that again. So for the finance report, I'm going to steal Brandon's thunder here. This is Brandon's last meeting with us. He is leaving his position. I am sad to see him go. I made him come today. But he's been great help to the library and great help for me to getting to know the budget. So I just wanted to tell him thank you. Now have fun telling us the numbers of the year.
I will miss all of this, actually. It's a little bittersweet. So thank you. I appreciate that. As far as year-end numbers, I will tell you that this report is as current as we can get it at the moment. It is year-end, and so various accruals are being posted, various transactions still as we receive invoices and finalize things through the system. Some of these numbers may change slightly, but I don't anticipate major swings in any direction. Some good news from last fiscal year, at least for the library fund itself. So anything labeled with a 201 to start with. The revenue items in the top of the top of the page there, we'd budgeted almost 520,000 for the year, and the library brought in 537,000. So extra funds that will roll over into this current fiscal year and into the fund balance. We've talked previously about the $500,000 donation. We haven't seen the rest of it yet. We're still holding out hope that that will come soon. But we're at the mercy of the trust as far as when that actually gets distributed. So more to come on that, hopefully at a future meeting of yours. As far as expenditures are concerned, there's nothing really crazy in here. Bottom line on page 2 is that the library spent just under 85% of its annual allotment for personnel, materials, and service. And we did not have to dip into the contingency for the year, so that available 19,000 will just roll into the fund balance and stay in the library for future uses. So all in all, a good year. Megan's first year at the helm, and she did a really great job with it. So you will get a final once we kind of post all the remaining adjustments and prep audit documents and everything. And then my successor, I imagine, will bring you a final report to see along with your normal monthly reports. So thank you. I can answer any questions if you got them.
Just thank you, Brandon. Ben. Pleasure for me. I thank you for all that. Issue.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I probably see it.
I think you will.
I think I'm next. The statistics. Cannot talk today. We have seen increase of number of people coming in the building, increase in checkouts. Although oddly, the ebooks went down slightly, which usually that goes up when people travel. But people are checking out physical books, which is fun. Not as many ebooks checked out, but a lot more physical books did. And I think that some of that could be if you want the new bestseller, there's a really long hold in the ebook, and we actually have some copies, or we're getting stuff that people want physically. Computer use was just up slightly. Nothing too big here. Are there any questions about any statistics? Can't blame it on Eva for she had to leave early. Okay, so I'm just going to get into this is the presentation I gave to my class, the classes. I keep forgetting which one. This is a lot of statistics, so I'm just kind of going to skip over a little bit. Please stop me at any time if you want and you need to explain anything further. It's just a few minutes. It's not going to be very long. So our population here has been going up at a rate of about 1.5% per year, which I think is great. And that is just until 2020. I know just in the year that I've been here, I've seen a lot more growth and new housing and new apartments and everything being added to the city and people coming in and getting new cards. We do have a larger than the Oregon average of people that live below the poverty line. And we do have a much smaller number of people without a bachelor's or higher here. English is the main language here, obviously. Of 97% of people that live here have English, speak only English at home, which is really an aberration for the entire state and across the country, which is interesting. The internet access that I talked about earlier, there's a little over 15% of people in Sweet Home that do not have internet access at home. Oregon is about 11% across the state. Nationwide, we're still actually a much better percentage than the nation as a whole, which I believe was at about 17%. Which is really good because one reason there is not some internet access here is just you can't get it. You can't set up a satellite internet, or you can't afford the astronomical fees for that, or there's just no way to get broadband or something. And interesting, Sherwood also had a very high number of people with no internet access at home, which I found, and that they were saying it wasn't necessarily because it wasn't an economic thing, it was a location issue. So a lot of the bigger, like even some of the wine facilities, they had no way to get internet access there. Or, having the satellite internet was just not worth it because it's so slow. It's like what dial-up used to be for some places. So I just found that interesting. Library data, just this general stuff that you probably already know about our library. The interesting thing here I want to point out is the number of internet access computers we have. We only have 6 internet access computers. We do have 2 computers that are dedicated just to our library catalog, and then 2 computers that are just for kids' games. But that is a rather low number of internet capable computers. The consultant that was here in 2019 recommended much higher numbers for that. But they had also counted the catalog stations and the AW computers as being internet ready and internet capable, but the patrons can't actually get on the real internet with those. So they actually had the number at 10 and still said that was a low number. So I just went over that in the next slide. Okay, so for our June 21 to 22 computer use, so our login numbers, we just need one more person to log in and we would have had 2,500 logins. It's about an average of 48 people logging in a week. This could be the same person every day or a couple times a day. It just does the number of logins. About 10 people log in per day. Our peak usage is around from noon to 3. Some people will spend a couple hours on the computer. We currently limit it to 1 hour, but if there's not all the computers are full, we'll extend it if there's a good reason, and not just because they're watching the latest soap opera or something. But some people just come in for like 3 minutes, print something off, and then check out a book and leave or whatever. That peak usage, one thing I found interesting here is that it's before school gets out that more people are coming into the library to do something on the computers. Previous libraries I've seen, it's like right when school gets out, a lot of the kids come and do something online, play games or, whatever. And that's not the case here, which is interesting. So there's this weird, complicated formula to find out how many device hours a library should have. This is just saying that for a community, you're supposed to have a certain number of hours of like 1 hour available, like per person that lives in the community on each computer to cover the entire year. We are well under that number. I'm not sure we need to have more computers just with what usage we have now. But if we do things like what Eva was talking about with the media literacy and kind of getting it out more that we do have internet access, we do have computers. If we do some basic computer classes or something like that, I think our use could go up much higher. What changes could we make now? Physically, we also don't have the space to add more computers. You've all been in the library, you kind of know this. There's not really any place else to go. First thing, just getting the word out that we have these computers, that we have printing available, that we have scanning available, that we can have all these things are here. Printing does have a small cost, but actually getting on the computer has no cost. We also need to find a way to do some basic computer classes or some one-on-one tutoring with people. That's kind of going to depend on what our community is wanting, preferring, like to do a class with multiple people or just a one-on-one thing. We can also potentially offer laptops that could be checked out for either use in the library or to take home. Like if you have internet at home, but your computer's broken or whatever, you could check out a laptop. That's something that Brandon and I had been working on. It's kind of hung up in our IT company that does the IT for the city. They're kind of balking a little bit at doing that and trying to set up the security for that. So I think in the next few months, we can kind of work on, they're changing the person that's going to be doing the IT, so we can try talking with them again once they get in place. Adding more desktop computers could be an option. The consultant said maybe some computers in the teen area, or maybe some computers that have some filters in the children's area. Physically, it's not really possible currently, but looking towards a new building, that's something that we could add. We can also make computer access easier for patrons. Right now, if you have a library card, we have to turn on a separate access, and we don't always do that by default. We could start doing that by default. If you get a new library card, we automatically set up your computer access. Currently, if you're coming in for a temporary day pass, we do want an ID. And then we look and we put you in by name, and then you get the temporary pass. And then we kind of can make sure that you're not doing this multiple times a day or something like that. We could forego that and figure out a different way to get people online. And then currently we do limit people to 1 hour, which I said before, we kind of, we don't always stick to. I think since I've been here, we've only had a couple times where every computer has been in use. But I think as we get more people in the building, that will go up. Again, our limitations are the space, basically. That's our biggest thing for almost everything I talk about is space. And then we don't necessarily have any individual tables that are set up for laptop use. For if we had a laptop or when people bring in their laptops, pretty much have one table that has a good plug that's right at the end of the computer banks that people will come in and use. But beyond that, we don't. And we don't have any private space for if people are need to do like a telehealth call or something like that. We just don't have a private space that even someone could even bring in their own laptop if they need the internet. And then just no space in some of those other areas. And then another change is looking forward to the fall is we need to look at our library policy manual with the board and look at if there's anything we need to change with the computer access that we have written down for that. That could be the hour time limit. It could be what you need to get the temporary pass. So that's a discussion we can have. So that is my short little presentation that I gave to the class. Just kind of really looking in depth at what the computer usage is and what it could be and what it is across other libraries. So any questions about that? Well, thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Any other information or questions?
I have one final thing. I know I have the written down for the next library board meeting on August 11th. I talked with Dawn and I know I've talked with Eva. Do we want to have the meeting in August or do we want to cancel that and give everyone a little bit of a summer break? I don't see anything pressing coming up. We will not be close to having a city manager by that point because I believe the day before is the second round of interviews. So that won't be something that we could like say, okay, we're ready for the new building or something. We're not even going to have a name of who we would be having. So it's up to you guys if you want to have the meeting or if you want to cancel it.
August is usually a busy time for everyone, vacations, getting that last step in before school starts.
Yeah, and Eva's out and Don said he would love a vacation.
Every zoning boards, you got an easier time. So. Motion maybe to
Yeah, you-
take August off and reconvene in September. Is that just a consensus
that's all we need.
for everyone? Okay.
I'd move to get the August meeting.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. In favor? All of us. Hey, perfect. Thank you so much. And again, Brandon, thank you. And what
Thank you.
plans are?
I won't be too far away.
Just a stranger.
Yes. I tried to get it here before I left, but it didn't work.
Exciting times in Sweet Home. Talk
That's right.
about it's coming. All right, thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 5:15.